Welcome to Challenging the Norm, his and hers look at life and business, hosted by Paul Snell and Lindsay Burden. This podcast is designed for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs and business owners redefining success on their terms. Each episode dives into the topics that truly matter, offering a blend of candid discussion, practical insights, all delivered with a sense of humour. We reality check the latest business trends while offering a fresh perspective that challenges conventional thinking. Paul partners with business leaders, leveraging cutting-edge neuroscience to demonstrate how people-centered strategies drive transformational success. While Lindsay brings her unique approach to business coaching, empowering ambitious business owners to achieve financial abundance and a lifestyle rich in time and joy, all without compromising what matters most. Together, we are challenging the norm. So grab a coffee or your beverage of choice and join us as we explore the art of creating a life and business you love. Good afternoon, Paul. How the devil are you? We are here for another episode. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm always ready, Lindsay. It's been a great weekend. And for those who really don't want to listen to what I did at the weekend, I went to a food and drink festival, which was splendid. And it was an autumn version. So again, this episode's not about me going to a food festival, but it was a great weekend.
And it's really interesting because I noticed that both of our rooms feel quite bright and airy. The sun's shining, but I don't think we should start talking about the weather, as we won't stop, because we are British after all. We do like a good chat about the weather. But today we want to bring an observation to the table. And we've had a little preamble, which is always extremely interesting. So you were saying that for the first time ever, you ordered something on Amazon in the morning. Other platforms are available. And by the afternoon, it arrived. I was saying how I've recently ordered something from a website that I've never used before, a piece of jewellery. It was a website and it was from an advert that I had found on social media. And I placed the order and I got 3 emails, thank you for your order. Here's your order number. We'll let you know when it's ready and it's on its way. Days have passed. Days. And today I've received an email to say it's on its way. So poles apart and extremes there. And we were sort of questioning, weren't we, whether I'm sat here going, oh, do you think it'll ever arrive now? Because now there are all these red flags and this poor little company who's just desperately trying to get their item to me. But it's left this sort of rather, not sour taste, but this little bubble of concern. Meanwhile, you're over there getting it now.
I know. And we started this conversation around this idea of immediate gratification, right?
Yeah.
The idea that in our times now, it's never been more immediate when we want something. And I'm not going to talk about the dim and distant past, but I can remember in my 20s where you had to write forms out if you wanted to a loan or a bank account. It was never instantaneous, but now that's very different. We live in a world where it's digital, it's instantaneous. I was in banking for many years, and I always remember that this is a factoid for you, Lindsay, that New Zealand was the first country that you could put a check into a branch in the north of the country, and it would immediately cash in the south. You could do it instantaneously. Oh. That was the first country in the world. It was a novelty. It was unheard of back in the late 80s. And of course, now it's quite common. In fact, so common, and this is my point, we don't even think about it. We just take it for granted. If you want to transfer money to another account, we never think, oh, well, it might take 2 or 3 days. It's instantaneous. Yeah. Same with Amazon. So my delivery was exceptional. I've never ordered some off Amazon in the morning and got it in the late afternoon. This time I did. All it does is reinforce that wonderful feeling that we can all have it now.
Yes, and it's interesting you mentioned loans, because you didn't mention that in the preamble, or we didn't bring, you didn't mention New Zealand or anything. Because I think that's quite an interesting part, particularly for business owners, and obviously in life as well. But we want to keep it to the business owner. if you can get money that easily, that puts you in quite a dangerous position, because you could bring money into the business and find it doesn't work. So you go and get more business into or more money in to try and fix the problem. Yeah. So that in itself is quite a concern to me, because it feeds that narrative that money solves the problems, which we know it doesn't.
No, and it reinforces that idea that if we throw money at something, it will push it forward. It will take the momentum forward. And what do we really know, Lindsay? You and I have been at this a while. What do we really know? Really know you've got to put the work in. I don't care what anyone says. Unless your 6 numbers come up on the lottery, you've got to put the work in.
Yeah.
And it is not an instant overnight thing. I've never met, in my years of doing this, somebody said, Paul, I started yesterday. Guess what? I'm now a 6-figure company today. It's never been that way. And I know, talking to you in the preamble, you said many times over and over, people have to put the work in if they want to see the results, certainly results that are sustainable.
And that's the key, Paul. I'm so glad you said that, because you kind of hit the nail on the head, because we have to put the work in. It has to be the right work. And I always feel that when we start our businesses, because everything is accessible, you can find the 7 steps to opening a business. You can open a business account, you can do all of the things, and everything's really accessible to help you do that. But you've really got to do the right work to create a business that will result in sustainable growth, sustainable income. Because otherwise you're on that feast and famine. I always talk about it, marketing's a really great example. You're really marketing and you're doing all the outreach and you're doing everything and it feels really hard, but you've got there and you're at the top and you're going, oh, I've got some clients and it's all feeling really good, so I'll just focus on them. You take the foot off your gas on everything else and down you go. Oh, now I've got to start all over again. And business can feel like feast and famine in so many different ways. It can feel that we really focus on one area of the business and then you go, okay, that's okay, now I can move over here. And just taking your eye off that ball, things start to crumble. We have to build strong foundations for our businesses, and that's where the work is.
It is. And I think also it's worth mentioning that this idea of immediate gratification, it isn't a nasty thought. It isn't a nasty aspect of our society. It's just a consequence of progress, right? So things ship easier. Digitally, we transfer things quicker. So I get it. And we're not sitting here saying, oh, immediate gratification is the new evil. We're not saying that. But what we are saying, there are some things where immediate gratification would be a challenge, or the feeling or even the expectation of immediate response. We live in a time where we talk about, and we're not going to dwell on social media, but the marketing on social media, marketing digitally, it tends to have a quick engagement, right? You can build the strategy over time, you can build the consistency over time, but you can go onto social media, post something, and even if one person likes it, it can be quick, right?
And I think that makes us really impatient.
It does. It does. It builds up that expectation. So impatience is a consequence of going, well, it must be quick. Everything else is quick. In fact, I'm sitting there trying to think in society terms. The only thing I can think of that isn't quick is if you break your leg or have an injury, it takes time, and there's no shortcut for that yet, right? And please don't sit there thinking about whether there is one, because I can't think of one.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not trying to think of one. You're absolutely right. What I was sort of looking up and I was thinking about, it's around this sort of expectation, isn't it? That everything is quick. Then we become disillusioned and don't do the right work, or whatever. It just feels that we are being fed a narrative. And we've talked about this before. Be careful who you gain your counsel from. Be careful who you speak to. Be careful about where you get your information from. Because there is a view that everything should be quick, because that is what we're being fed. Not just a narrative, but that's our experience. Order it in the morning, get it in the afternoon. And that's where I guess that impatience comes from, because why isn't it happening now? Or why isn't it happening yet? And all of those things creates this world where people think they can start a business, give up their jobs, give up their security, and start a business and be, let's not say a multi-millionaire, but kind of replaced their employed income overnight. And it doesn't happen. It's that we were talking, we're laughing. I was saying, what's that phrase from the field of dreams? Build it and they shall come. And that's what I don't know about you, but I sometimes see that and I go, well, I've got a business and this, I've got my offers and everything else, but it's not just happening. It's not happening yet. It's not happening, Linz.
Yeah, all the time, all the time. In fact, it's astonishing how, and you describe it as a lack of patience. You're right. It's astonishing how if something doesn't happen literally a few weeks, it's time for completely rethink the business, or here's the classic, I need to buy something else to make that happen. I need to take another qualification to be better at it. And it's just not the case. And it's like, okay, one thing we discussed, Lindsay, and I'll ask you the question. You've mentioned already, and I come across this a lot, where people go, I had a business idea. I love to do this. It's my passion, right? So bear that in mind. Someone says they're loving it. They give up their job. They're ready to go. So they press the button and that's it. There's no preparation. There's no planning involved. So my question to you is, and may well be people listening who are thinking about going into business, and I'm not going to ask you detailed here, but I am going to say, if you had to recommend a sequence, what would it be to help you understand two things: the right process and understand the right timescale?
Well, I almost want to go back a step, because you mentioned the word passion. I've got this passion and I want to start a business. And then you said, and they have a passion. You kind of reiterated that. I would question actually whether a passion can be turned into a business.
Yeah.
Because we can be passionate about changing the lives of young people, but we may not be able to make a business out of it. We may not be more importantly, we may not be able to make an income out of it, an income that enables us to live a life so we can continue doing that work. So I think if someone is starting a business because they're passionate about doing something, I remember on the radio a long time ago now, someone had started, and I'm not going to say it was a business, it was a charity, and they were providing mattresses basically for young people who don't have mattresses, so they go to school tired, not learning. That's not a business. That's a charity. That's a passion. I want to make a difference. So I think that's the first thing we need to really understand. Is this a nice passion project? Is this a nice passion project that actually, if you had a business that you worked on 3 days a week that was earning you a great income, meant you could give your time to that? So then we're saying the business needs to enable you to have this passion project, and it's okay to have a passion project, but to think that you can turn a passion project into a business, it needs a lot more thought, and I think that's a really important point to make.
It is a really important point, and just to add to that, all too often, in my experience, people who want to take a passion, and by the way, having a passion and turn it into business is fine if it is possible to turn it into a business.
Yeah.
But there's something that happens a lot with that side of things, and it's something called confirmation bias. In other words, we've got a great idea, I'm passionate about it. All I look for, we do this subconsciously, is something to validate that.
Yeah.
What we don't do, and this is something I know that you're passionate about, what we don't do is sit down in the cold light of day with a tick list, if necessary, of steps you need to go through to truly validate or prepare or plan for a business. So you're spot on with the passion thing. If it's one thing to have a passion, it's another thing to turn it into a business. And also, I love, because I've used this many times, if you have a passion and your assessment of that passion as a business opportunity is there isn't one, it doesn't mean not doing that passion. It just means finding a way to make your time and financial commitment doable for that passion via a different route.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not saying, oh, don't go down the passion route. You can, but let's be realistic about it, because immediate gratification, which is what we're talking about here, often isn't based in realism. It's based in expectation. And we know what the official description of frustration is when expectation can't be met.
It's really interesting. I remember working with a client a long, long time ago now, and I probably worked with them for about a year. And they went back to employment because they said, they just couldn't see how they were going to replace their salary. Now, there was potential to replace the salary and some, but it was not going to happen in 12 months.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. And we've talked about this before. We've talked about the work that needs to happen before you start a business, the front loading. What are you willing to risk? What can you, put up and are willing to lose? We've spoken about this at time. Do not put your house, at risk. I think what we need to do is help any potential business owners really think about how much time they want to give to their business. And Paul, I see it all the time, particularly with women. This is a very serious episode, Paul. I don't think there's been such a lack of laughter. But I was just thinking about women particularly. They want to be there more for their children. They want to be able to pick their kids up from school. And this, female or male, you may want to spend more time with your kids, or you might be a single parent, and as the only parent, you need to be there. So you go, I'll start this business and it'll all be great. It won't be great. It is really tiring to start a business. And I'm not convinced unless you are truly boundary based, unless you can say, I'm only going to work on my business 3 days a week, or I'm only going to work 9 to 3, or whatever it is, and use that time most effectively and have a business that enables you that flexibility. I would suggest that to have the time freedom that so many people desire and are going after, and is why they started a business, know that time freedom will not come in the first year. It might not come in the second year. You might not experience it in the third year. And for some of us, we're only experiencing it now, and we're at year 13.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so true. You're beginning, and quite rightly so, to put some realities in place about business. It's similar to the question of giving up your job, having a small bit of savings and going, well, that'll be enough to see me through. And then I'll have my full size income in 3 to 6 months, because that's all the money I've got. And guess what happens? Well, right? The minute you have run out of savings, and the minute you are faced with the fact that you might not be able to pay your bills, let me tell you, all focus, all reasonable mental function begins to disappear like no one's business. And all you do is worry about how the hell am I going to pay the bills? So when you started out, the idea was to be time rich. So you had time to spend doing whatever it is, picking the kids up, or spending time with your wife, whatever it is. You want to be time rich, and you wanted a decent income, and you wanted to do the thing you loved. And now here you are. This is the potential. This isn't a guarantee. This isn't me saying this is how it happens. But the risk, because I've seen it, is you sit there going, now what do? I don't have any money. It's a spiral. I don't have any money. I can't think creatively. I can't do this. I can't do that. How am I going to pay the bills? Trust me, I've seen it so many times. You don't want to think that you can be creative and worry about whether you're going to pay the bills.
No, and actually 6 months reserves isn't enough, I think.
No.
And certainly and I think, Paul, we can almost say, almost 99% positively, that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you might have been able to do it with 6 months money in the bank.
Yeah.
You cannot now. Everything fluctuates so quickly. It's a different world that we live in, a different environment, and things change quite quickly. Your gas and electric could skyrocket overnight, as what you pay on a monthly basis. That kind of stuff wasn't happening 10, 15 years ago. And I think you could have had less in the bank, which is why now, one of the questions that I always ask my clients when we start working together I have two audits that I get them to do. I do a business audit and I do a personal audit. The personal is all audit, so I know that they have the support. They won't always have the full support. They might have people that go, I think they're really supportive, but they don't really understand. All of that's fine, because you need that support, not just in a business sense, but you need to know that people are going to be by your side. And they're still going to say the wrong thing. They're still going to say, "Are you still going at that? Have you not got any clients yet?" Because they don't know any other way to support you, not because they're being mean or horrible. So I think there's this real shift in, if you're starting a business, you need more than 6 months.
You
Money, I would
do.
suggest.
You do. It's interesting you talk about this idea how things move so quickly. And we're talking about immediate gratification, which is all about things moving so quickly. But so there is a reality to that. And I see it as a positive and a negative. The speed of change puts you at more immediate risk.
Yeah, it does.
The speed of change also puts you in a position where you can adapt quicker too. But it's almost always, because humans are wired, we just are wired this way. We're wired to react to fear more than we're wired to react to pleasure. And we can start talking about back in the day, thousands of years ago, all we want to do is run away from the dinosaurs. We can talk about that. But the reality is we are wired to avoid fear or to avoid catastrophe. So when it comes to speed, it's really difficult, not impossible, but really difficult to go, right, I need to pivot to take advantage of something, or I need to be agile to take advantage of something, or I need to adapt. It can be really difficult. What we tend to do is, quick, I need to adapt because I'm going to lose that, or that's going to be a disaster. So you're absolutely right. The challenge in business nowadays, for two reasons. One is that's how we're wired to behave, which is to respond to fear. And the other one is it's a fast moving world. Things change quickly. We're not even going to talk about the likes of COVID and what that did to expectations of business, right? So when we talk about immediate gratification, when we talk about process, when we talk about planning, there is always an element of that goes, we have to be agile. We do have to be adaptable, right? We do have to be able to respond. But without that central plumb line that we follow, that is the realist or the realistic approach, we can't possibly know where we're adapting from or where we're moving from at speed. And at times it will be at speed. So it still comes back to me to having that realistic grounding about what it's about in the first place.
And so your realistic grounding, and for me, building the foundations of your business that enables you to be agile. I don't like pivot. It was overused in 2020. Gives you that ability to be agile because you've learned how to use the numbers. You've learned how to see how the ebbs and flows go in your business. You've learned to see opportunities. You've got the right people in your back pocket all the time that we're there to serve you and help you and come up when you need them. You'll have built the business that is able to be agile when you need to. And things do change. And you've only got to look at AI. And I know we've covered this before, but that is changing everything at such a rapid pace. And we need to be embracing it. We talked about that in that particular episode. But I think it's really important that we look at how we embrace things and how we are able to move without panic is what I want to say, but I almost don't want to say because I don't want anyone to think you're panicking. Or don't panic, Mr. Mannering, for goodness. But it feels a bit like when you do the right work, when you've got the right people around you, you won't panic. You'll be able to go, okay, this is happening. How does that affect me? Where do I need to move? What do I need to move in? And the same will happen if the pipeline's starting to dry up. You'll know what you need to do. You know what works for you and you'll come back to it. If the marketing feels like it's not quite working, you'll be able to analyze it really well. You've got to have done the groundwork, and it's so powerful when you do, because I also think, Paul, not that we can turn you in a multimillionaire overnight, but when you build the business for growth, when you build the business in a way that it enables you to be agile if necessary, you will collapse the time of success.
Yeah, you will
bridge it quicker.
100%. And immediately my thoughts go to how people procrastinate, how they look at other things to try and solve something that if they'd have put the groundwork in wouldn't be a problem. So you end up if we look at time, you end up spending more time worrying, looking at alternatives, trying to find quick solutions, and it always amazes me that, that saying says, if it looks too good, it probably is. We don't apply it often enough, and certainly not in business. So if we do what you say, which is build this foundation, and correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't need to be onerous. It's pretty straightforward, right? And a lot of it's perfect common sense. But what that enables us to do is the time that we do have and the immediacy of change means we're doing all the right things at the right time. We're not then sitting there going, so what do I do now?
Yeah. So to answer your question way back 20 minutes ago, when you were saying, what do people need to do first? If you believe that you have a solid business idea, there are plenty of resources. So I would say the Federation of Small Business, if you're here in the UK, that has a website full of fantastic resources. But what I would say is have conversations with people that have already trodden the path. Go and ask them what next steps, what's important. Now, when you're doing that, be really careful that you're not just garnering as much information as you possibly can, and then I can copy that person and do a bit of that and I'll take on that. This isn't about you creating a business from all the best ideas of everybody else's. This is you testing your idea, making sure that you're going at it the right way. Now, if you can afford a business coach at the beginning of your journey, get one, because it will save you a lot of time and effort. Now, many will be going, well, if they're at the beginning of their journey, they're not going to have that kind of investment available. I would still say reach out to a business coach because they will point you in the right direction. At the very least, they will have some free resources. Yeah. I have a fantastic resource that if you're at the beginning of the journey, it just talks about all the different things you might need, from a bank account all the way through to how you might take money. Just gets you to start thinking about things. But the more help and support you can get while staying true to what's important to you will mean that you'll create a business that you'll be able to grow with, or rather it will grow with you. Because I have to say, Paul, whether you're at the beginning of your journey, in 3 years in, 5 years in, 8 years in, the biggest mistake I see made is business owners, and that was a Freudian slip there when I said I've made, because I know I've made it as well, is making decisions for the business that you have. You always need to be making business decisions for the business of the future, your successful business of the future. And when we do that, we make the journey easier.
Now, if there's anything from this episode, that is it.
My work is done.
Your work is done. I'm absolutely serious on this. The idea of making decisions for your business as it is the epitome of immediate gratification. It's right now. This is my business, so I'll make the decisions right now. And that is, sadly, that is almost certainly doomed, because we live in a time where things change so quickly.